Welcome to the FanDuel Punch Out. I'm Jason Gilbo at JGilbo11. With me is Russell Clay at Russell J. Clay. Taking a look at tonight's 11-game slate. Features cores. Obviously features a couple of talented pitching options. But overall, I feel like there's more offenses you can use than pitching, actually.
At least in a sprinkle-in type of way. So, yeah, certainly a lot of options.
Yeah. First one here, you got Orioles and Yankees. Kevin Gausman taking on CC Sabathia. For me, in terms of the Yankees, I'm not really a big fan of the lefties here. Gausman is a reverse splits guy. Gary Sanchez in a GPP, sure. Starling Castro at second base, GPP. I just don't feel like anyone is really worth the cash game look on the Yankees side.
Nah, I'm not too interested in that lineup with the rest of the options we have. I'm cool. We're done. Yeah, we're good. We're good.
Yeah, I agree. In terms of the Orioles, pretty value here. Outside of Machado, you got Adam Jones back into lineup at 3-3, Pierce 3-2, Trumbo 3-3, Scope 3-2. There's a lot of different ways you can go, but I do still feel like the lefties against Baltimore is something I just don't jump all over in cash because I feel like you're left more bummed out than actually hitting at the way this has gone this year.
Agreed. I do like that Trumbo price, so I think that's pretty reasonable. I think you could go Trumbo Jones in a mini stack and feel fairly comfortable with that.
Yeah, and I like Pierce a lot. Pierce is probably the one I actually probably trust the most. Just because his numbers against lefties have been very solid. They really always have been. And then adding in that ballpark, it's still pretty solid there.
Yep, definitely.
Braves and Phillies next year. Vince Velasquez versus John Gant. In terms of the Phillies, decent matchup against Gant. Really hasn't shown anything spectacular. I don't mind the value here. If you're kind of getting some exposure to cores, I think you can roll with them. But for the most part, we saw last night, it was kind of like everyone outside of the names that we wanted to happen as far as scoring runs go.
Yeah, exactly. I'm okay with Freddie Freeman. Obviously against a righty again, but overall, I'm not too interested in this lineup. They're more just good enough to make me avoid Vince Velasquez.
Yeah, I think so. I'm not looking to use anyone here. Outside of Freddie Freeman, who you mentioned, he's probably the guy I'd take the most shots with, and I'm not quite sure if I'm using Freeman in cash. It'll probably just be more of a GPP move.
Right.
So, Brewers and Pirates next here. Ivan Nova versus Jimmy Nelson. In terms of this game, I'm not the biggest fan of. I don't like paying up for the Brewers bats here in this ballpark. The one guy I do like is Gregory Polanco, though, at 3,600.
Yeah, there we go. I'm okay with that. We can do a little Josh Bell action. I actually don't mind the Pirates tonight, kiss of death, but I kind of like this lineup. I think there's some interesting options. Okay with McCutchen tonight too, so I can do that 2 through 4 stack in and not literally walk off a ledge at lineup lock time. So.
Was that a Pirates reference? Like you're heading off the side of the boat, like they're inching you closer to the sea with
What's
sharks at the
called?
bottom.
What's
walking
that
the
called?
walking the plank.
The plank, yeah. See, I wish I had that in my brain, but my brain isn't that advanced, so I said ledge.
I'm in agreement with you. I'll even toss in a Marte. You look at Nelson. This year really has had some blow up potential. Even outside of Miller Park there, we've seen that blow up there. So I don't mind Pirates. I'm with you. I think they're a reasonable option tonight.
Yeah, no, I agree. So overall, kind of a mediocre game, but I do like some Pirates.
Yeah. Nationals and Mets next year. Tanner Roark versus Robert Selman. In terms of the Nationals, I like who I usually like here. It's the front five, and I even don't mind getting weird with Anthony Rendon or Wilson Ramos at the 5 or 6 spots. It's Nationals offense is consistent, and you know where it's coming from.
Exactly. Especially against righties, it's fairly obvious. So give me Murphy, give me Harper, give me Herfy, give me Marper, whatever, however you say it, you know who we're talking about. Lock them in.
Yeah, I like them quite a bit. And on the Mets side, I'm not looking to really use anyone here.
No.
I think at their prices, they're just high enough for where I just rather look elsewhere. So for me, kind of just fade. I don't love Tanner Roark, but I love the Mets.
Again, Rourke limits the damage for the most part. He's not great, but he's certainly not gonna, give up 3 grand slams or something stupid. So yeah, I'm not worried about the
Well, now
Mets.
that you said that,
I mean, it's not every time I say something it's gonna be wrong now, Mister Gilbolt. But that certainly has been a string of strange instances of late.
I know I'm just giving you a hard time.
I know.
So. White Sox and Twins next year. Hector Santiago versus James Shields. Hard not to like this game at all, or kind of overall. I mean, this one on both sides, I'm quite a fan of. I mean, you look at Shields; he's just been extremely home run prone to both sides of the plate, especially lefties, and even righties this year. It's been awful. So I'm okay with the Twins here. I mean, I like the prices. You look at Shields; he hasn't been missing bats. Dozier's been on fire, and then everyone else comes at a pretty decent value.
Yeah, I mean, normally we don't look at Joe Mauer at first, but tonight I think is a night where he's pretty affordable. I like that matchup. Hoping Max Kepler sort of jumps in the lineup a little bit. I think we'll like him if he, gets into the fifth spot or something like that. But yeah, overall, nice stacking lineup, like Plouffe and Sano, sort of in this specific matchup against a righty. So yeah, I like this stacking group for sure.
Yeah, I mean, as you mentioned, I mean, Shields, 375 WOBA to lefties, 1.90 home runs per nine to last year. Next, Kepler, you want him to jump up. But obviously, as you mentioned, Joe Mauer certainly in play, and then obviously Sano and Dozier kind of have that big time power from the right side. So Dozier just keeps on cranking home runs. I mean, at this point, you know, he might get to 50 before the end of the year.
He's been awesome. I'm a fan for sure.
Yeah. I mean, if you wanted if you're going a different route at pitcher, I think he's been consistently kind of low ownership at second base because of his price. So I feel good kind of keep tossing him in GPPs.
Definitely.
As far as the White Sox go, I mean, I do like a couple right-handed bats. I do like Melky Cabrera. I do like Abreu, Frazier. I think those guys are all intriguing options. Curious to see what they do if Anderson's out. I mean, Tyler Saladino has been sneaking up into the top half of the lineup. An intriguing value there.
Yep, certainly an intriguing value, as you mentioned. If Tim Anderson's in the lineup, we like him at 3,800 or 3,100. Certainly like Abreu and Frazier. I think a righty stack for the White Sox definitely in play, but mostly Abreu is who I'm looking at.
I mean, Santiago, 1.69 home runs per nine to right-hander since last year. Has come over to Minnesota and has given up just a ton over his last 4 or 5 starts. So, there was no reason to believe that was going to stop.
Right, exactly.
Marlins and Indians next year, Trevor Bauer versus Jose Fernandez. And you are going to get the Indians at a cheap price tag. Okay, so, I mean, I think we can throw out that there is a chance that the Indians could get to Fernandez tonight.
I think so. I'm not going to be afraid of playing Kipnis at 3K. I don't mind that. I mean, you look at these prices. Most nights, I would agree, but I like this Indians lineup, especially against righties. Give me that top 3 stack if you're going to stack. Certainly just a deep tournament move, but I do like Lindor and Kipnis as one-offs.
Yeah, I mean, I do too. I like him in GPPs to be a little bit contrarian because, I mean, you look at Fernandez, I mean, on the road is a little bit more volatile. On the road against lefties, 327 WOBA allowed, which is certainly not tremendous, but it's in consideration to what he usually does. That's
Right.
a little off. So there is certainly some potential. I mean, obviously in the second half, he hasn't had the cleanest of outings at times, but it's Jose Fernandez. He is the best pitcher on the slate.
Well, let's take a look here. So there's 3 teams that have gotten 5 earned runs or more on him. It's been the Braves, it's been the Cardinals, it's been the Reds. What do they all have? Stud lefties in their lineup. So I don't know. I love Kipnis, so I think that's a nice play, and Lindor as well. So yeah, I'm pretty comfortable with that actually in terms of tournaments.
Yeah, I am too. I'll definitely be throwing some shares in at those prices. And on the Marlins side, I mean, I don't like anyone outside of Yelich at this point. I mean, there's just nothing there in terms of this upside.
Right, exactly. I like Bauer as a tournament guy, so not much here for the Marlins.
No, I don't think so. I mean, Bauer can be a little bit home run or hit and miss at times, but I don't think really this lineup is going to do anything that explodes and gives you kind of a huge advantage in tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
Tigers and Royals next year, Michael Fulmer versus Yordano Ventura. This one, I'm not in love with for offense in terms of the games we've kind of talked about already. I'm probably not going to be looking to get any shares here at all, actually.
Yeah. No, I like Ventura against righties, so I mean, Tiger stack always in play. It's but overall, you like Cabrera in any matchup really. JD Martinez, sure, but overall, nah. Probably taking the night off from the Tigers.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, Victor Martinez at 3-3 is certainly probably the most reasonable option there.
Yeah.
And looking on the Royal side, I mean, as you talked about, I mean, nothing really there. I mean, I think this game's gonna be one of those like 4-3 games, 5-4 games where it's just
Yeah.
nothing, you know.
Yeah, like maybe a James McCann homer in the seventh off a reliever, and you're just like, "Whoa, a run!" Oh,
That's very
never mind.
specific.
I've just
There was one on. It was a 2-1 count. It was about 68 degrees outside when James McCann goes yard in the seventh inning.
he loses his hat as he's rounding first. Yes, yes, yes. Uh, anyway,
Yeah, not a game to really look at for offense.
no.
Diamondbacks and Rockies next year, Tyler Chatwood versus Braden Shipley. And I think Shipley is going to be the guy that a lot of people are going to go and kind of target against here. Making a start in Coors. You obviously love all these guys here like Blackman, Cargo, Arenado, David Dahl. I mean, they're going to be expensive pay-up options, but it's hard to ignore them here against Shipley, especially with what Vegas is projecting them to do.
Uh-oh. So you want to be contrarian, like you want to talk yourself into being weird. Don't don't go crazy. Like don't fade the Rockies tonight. At least get some exposure. Get Blackman, Cargo, get Arenado, get some exposure to the top of this lineup. This is gonna be another crazy game. So I just think you kind of have to.
Yeah, I mean, I like all those bats. I mean, you look at what Shipley's done. I mean, now you're going to toss him into Coors. I mean, that's not good.
No.
It's never good for an experienced right-hander of his quality. So,
Right.
yeah, gotta like the Rockies, and I even don't mind the Diamondbacks here against Chatwood. I mean, I still think all these guys are reasonably in play. Jake Lamb is an intriguing kind of spin-off of Arenado for 700, difference. I actually don't mind him. Goldschmidt at 4.8's a little bit overpriced for me. But I do like kind of the rest of those guys in the front half of the lineup.
Agreed. Yeah, it is a little pricey for Goldschmidt. I think yesterday was really the day where you're like, all right, I'm willing to pay whatever it is for Goldschmidt. But tonight's a little like, maybe I'd just rather go with Arenado and Cargo, and load up on these Rockies here. So yeah, get Jake Lamb. Maybe fade Arenado on that side or do something like that. But overall, I'm more looking Rockies than Diamondbacks.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Shipley far the worser pitcher there.
Yeah.
Red Sox and A's next year. Daniel Mengden versus Rick Porcello. I'm not really looking to use A's, even though they are cheap. It's just kind of a fade for me. I like Porcello quite a bit.
Yeah, I don't even think it's a vote type of night for me, which it's always a vote type of night for me against righties. Not tonight. I'm all set.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I mean, guys like Chris Davis, always GPP potential, but I don't really see it in this matchup, especially with how well Porcello's pitched.
Mm-hmm, definitely.
So, in terms of the Sox, I don't mind them here. It's kind of a spinoff, but once again, I mean, they do come at prices where, yes, they paid him off last night. I mean, we saw the big run upside that they always have. In terms of that happening again, I don't see double digits, but I don't mind a couple of the guys at prices like a Hanley Ramirez, who's been hitting the ball well, or Pedroia at a mid 3.5. I think those are okay options.
And maybe a Yon if he's in there at 3K.
If he's in there.
Yeah. So, I mean, always, again, I mean, we even said it yesterday, always at least take a look at the Red Sox as a stack. Obviously, if that injury doesn't happen, we probably don't see that type of run total. But overall, I mean, they always have that potential. So at least worthy of taking a look. Ortiz always worthy of a look at against the righty.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And even Betts, I mean, we know what his upside is. So there certainly can pay off those price tags at 4.2. It's just always, when you look at other ones, you kind of look for guys in better stadiums and better matchup as well.
Certainly.
Angels and Mariners next year, Taijuan Walker versus Tyler Skaggs. In terms of this game, I mean, Nelson Cruz against the lefty, always in play for me. I'm certainly going to be giving him a look. Dae-Ho Lee, I might take a stab at in a tournament sense if I'm trying to get some Rockies bats in there. I mean, a cheap guy, he'll help kind of alleviate some salary to get Cargo, to get Arenado, to get some Coors exposure, and there is certainly some upside with him against lefties. And Skaggs, I mean, we've seen him be either completely on or completely off. I mean, we've seen the blow up as far as one on both sides, and he's hasn't had good starts against Seattle this year.
As a continuation from the pitcher pod, can Skaggs please just get off my slates? I don't want to deal with this. It's like either a monstrosity where you literally have to stack the other team, or he's Cy Young. I don't want to deal with this anymore. I'm sick of you, Skaggs. So, I mean, I like Nelson Cruz. Like, yeah, I'm cool with that, but I'm also kind of worried that he totally shuts him down. So, limiting exposure, but I'm fine with Cruz in pretty much all formats.
Yeah, I am too. I mean, certainly an intriguing option, but as far as other guys, I'm not really looking to use the Mariners.
No.
And as far as the Angels go, I mean, there is certainly some home run potential because Walker is extremely home run prone. I don't mind taking shots with a couple of these guys like Pujols, Cole Calhoun, even Trout. I still feel like I'm going to be leaning on the Coors game if I'm paying up for a high-priced outfielder, so I don't think I'll get some exposure to him. But he is certainly always in play, and as we say, I mean, Walker is home run prone.
Certainly. I don't mind Trout again, but not optimal to pay $4,500 for him. So, anyhow, but Pujols is definitely like that price.
Yeah, I think so too. Moving on here, you got the Dodgers and Padres. Padres, for me, I'm not really looking to use anyone here against Hill. We talked about Hill on the pitcher pod. There is some caution with him, but overall, I'm not using Padres here.
No, that's fairly easy. Yeah, even if they, spot start someone, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. And on the other side, I like the Dodgers. I like their prices here tonight. I like Gonzalez, Grandal, Turner, Seager. I think it's a really intriguing contrarian stack. I like them quite a bit at those prices, and I even, I'm not going to roll out a Nutley at second base if you need some value. You could Pradama, I mean, has struggled with lefties, and home runs have been an issue, really both sides of the plate. So even tossing Justin Turner, I think he's an intriguing spin off of those kind of Coors third basemen.
I honestly think you could make an argument for 1 through 7 in this lineup, at least in a contrarian way. I certainly like Seager, Turner, and Grandal, especially with positions considered. Turner is going to be super contrarian with Arenado and Lamb in that Coors game, but I think that's an intriguing stack for sure.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, I really don't mind tossing in like a 2 through 5 stack there.
Yeah.
I mean, fairly cheap. I mean, you're still getting Seager, a big bopper there. You can still maybe work in a lower end pitcher and get some exposure to Coors. So I don't know. There's a ton of upside with this Dodgers lineup just because Perdomo's on the hill and has had those blowups at times.
Definitely.
So that's going to wrap things up with the FanDuel Punch Out. Be sure to check out DaveFantasyCafe.com for all great tools and content.